Good afternoon and welcome to another episode of Powered for SP3. I'm your host, John Scott, but joined by the man himself, the oracle of professional wrestling, the Tru Heel Heat, the A side of the cassette, as I always say, Mr. SP3. How are you doing this week, my friend?
It's Wednesday, and you know what that means. SP3 is back on YouTube talking about pro wrestling, starting off things on Powered4SP3. I missed you, John Scott. I'm glad to be here, talk about some wrestling, and, of course, wax lyrically about the new Lord and Savior of professional wrestling, Bad Bunny.
Yes, obviously a huge inspiration of yours now, SP3, given the amazing promo that you cut last week. I had some great comments on that as well. I had a few people saying that why haven't WWE hired you? So there you go. High praise, Mr. SP. Yeah, give him the money. I'll take 10% off the top, as your agent.
I want to be special counsel for...
Yeah. For Bad Bunny.
I have to name drop here because Dave Meltzer got a lot of heat yesterday on social media for our ethics celebrity chief, Bad Bunny.
Fair enough. You see, he's keeping it all there. Before we get on with the show, SP3, I have to do this because this guy's been coming on every week, as you well know. Brett Thomas has been flying on all of our shows, so I thought, for the sake, look, I can either ignore it, I can pretend it's not happening. That would be the easy thing to do, right? But no, I've actually sent him a little video. So here's a video, guys. Apologies in advance for some of the sound is not linked in too well with the timing, but I had to do this within the space of half an hour. But this is for you, Brett Thomas. Let's take a look at the last month of this ongoing saga of Brett Thomas.
Brett Thomas in the comments says, heard WWE want Logan Paul at Mania. Who would you put him against, Lesnar or someone legit, as he is facing the greatest boxer ever in Floyd Mayweather?
We'll go straight
I'd put him against someone who's going to really do him some damage.
An odd one, so it's a strange one from our YouTube. Brett Thomas, is Logan Paul coming to WWE? I actually saw this guy. He was on last night on Sunny's show, G&G there, from last night, and he was asking that same question there. SP3 from New York and all your sources. Please tell me this ain't true.
I'm gonna hope to God it's not true, and it's just something that he's hoping for, Brett Thomas. But no, I have not heard any information about Logan Paul coming to WWE.
Wrestler, well, he must have got a huge pop there then, I would imagine. Brett Thomas, Logan Paul, WrestleMania. This guy, Brett Thomas, I don't know who you are, but I've seen you now on like 3 other shows, and you keep saying about Logan Paul. I don't know anything about Logan.
I think that's well.
No.
Now, Sonny Gorn is going to like this. Logan Paul could do MMA and boxing. Yeah, but to what level, Brett? And obviously, I don't know if you're a fan of his or not, but
going on.
And you couldn't go anywhere without Brett Thomas asking this question. Any news on Logan Paul? Mate, you must have come on to every show of the last week asking all my people. I know nothing about Logan.
Like the last month.
I'm speechless. I don't know what to say. I really don't. I think that I don't think he's coming anywhere near WWE. Not now, anyway. I wouldn't rule it out, knowing my luck. There you have it. There you have it. Logan Paul is coming to at least SmackDown. I'm expecting more as well, but we'll get to that when we get to it. But there you go, Brett Thomas. You win. I'm defeated. Shame on me for saying that last week, because what happened in the next 2 days, my goodness. I think I jinxed it. I honestly think I jinxed it. But yeah, that's where we are. We'll get to that. Don't you worry. Let's start, though, at the top as we're going to get into this week's. And that is Andrade's shoot interview. WWE told Charlotte, of course, as well, that she was pregnant. SP3, what on earth is going on here? We spoke about this last week, had quite a lot of people interested about the whole Andrade thing, about what exactly is going to happen with him, especially after some of the remarks. What do you make of the interview then, and what have we learned that we didn't know coming out of WWE from last week?
Well, this was a very eye-opening and insightful shoot interview that Andrade did with Lucha Libre Online. He spoke in depth about his WWE career and release. Among other things, he talked about his run in NXT, how he became NXT champion due to WWE not wanting Adam Cole to defeat Drew McIntyre for the NXT championship because they viewed Cole as too small to beat Drew McIntyre. He also mentioned that he made $3 million per year, or several $1 million per year, from WWE. This was later basically talked about and addressed by Dave Meltzer on Wrestling Observer Radio. He says speculation that Andrade actually meant $3 million over 4 years for a 5-year contract would make more sense based on the WWE pay scale and what talents are actually making now. But the real stuff that kind of got a lot of the press this week was obviously the stuff that he talked about with Charlotte Flair. He discussed meeting Charlotte Flair thanks to Carl Anderson of the Good Brothers. He also talked about his decision to basically finally leave WWE, how he was cleared to wrestle since November and basically had been sitting in catering, and Vince nor Triple H knew that he was cleared to wrestle and compete. Creative just had nothing for him. So basically that's when he made the decision that he wanted to go. He also discussed him and Charlotte's relationship, how Charlotte got a lot of heat backstage from other females, feeling that she was getting like opportunity after opportunity. Although she's one of the best, performers in WWE, there's a lot of females that had animosity against her. Then he also talked about in depth about basically Charlotte being told by WWE that she was pregnant. And that's the reason that she was medically suspended for WrestleMania. It wasn't the fact that she had COVID. It was the WWE misdiagnosed her basically by telling her that she was pregnant when she wasn't. Charlotte took her at-home test and saw that it was negative and that she wasn't pregnant. WWE still was like adamant, and they went back and forth, and that's the reason why she was basically scrapped from plans for WrestleMania. And then he also did a follow-up interview with Carlos Toro of Fightful Select, where he talked about his conversations with Triple H prior to leaving WWE. He talked to Triple H as late as 2 days before his release. And basically he said that he never proposed going back to NXT. It was they proposed it to him. Triple H proposed that he come back to NXT, but Andrade was very adamant that he wanted to be successful on Raw or SmackDown, and that he didn't want to take a step back and go to NXT before he was eventually granted his release. So he had a lot to get off his chest in the last week. The stuff with Charlotte Flair specifically, my good friend Alex McCarthy of TalkSport and Wrestling Daily, he was contacted by Charlotte Flair's people in her camp and received a direct quote from her where she basically validated and confirmed Andrade's claim that WWE told Charlotte that she was pregnant. But she said that a lot of the stuff was like lost in context, that basically it was a misinformation thing, and she was very adamant about, still wanting to compete and knew that she wasn't pregnant. And that's why she made sure that she took the at-home test and let WWE know. But the reason that she was out right now was because of the, her diagnosis with COVID-19. So a lot of stuff coming out with Andrade and Charlotte this week. Their name is going to be in the headlines, I feel, for the next couple of weeks, thanks to all of this.
Sorry about that, guys. My mic was just mute. That's a lot to unpack there, SP3, I have to say. And I mean, a hell of a lot really coming out of this. And you got to think he obviously has been waiting for a while to get this off his chest. I was reading as well, I don't know how true this is, but that they haven't put like a no compete clause with him. So I don't know if he can just rock up at another promotion fairly soon if he wanted to, I guess. Not that I guess he's in any particular rush, but that would be a bit of a bonus, I suppose. And you got to think really that any promotion out there is going to kind of want this guy because he's, whether it's negative or positive, he's in the news. He's quite a talking point at the moment, even amongst WWE fans. And yet, this is a guy who we have not seen on TV, as he rightly said, that he was just been hanging about backstage, just doing nothing. I'm quite surprised, I've got to say, about this. Do you think that he would fit in anywhere particular? Do you think he has a specific place in mind, or do you think he might just do the whole independent route himself? Because, you know, I would imagine for him, he can probably get quite a high price at the moment. He doesn't really have to settle on just going to, you know, I know a lot of people will go AEW, has to go to AEW, but like, I don't think there's any rush between both parties. I think he could probably go and work in a few various different locations and do his own gig, and, you know, then further down the line, AEW or who knows, wherever he wants to go, I guess would be asking, because he's a fantastic talent. But with that SP3, that question of where he would go, following on a follow-up question, of course, is what the hell are we supposed to think of this whole Charlotte thing then? So she's not there because of a complete screw up with I mean, it really is confusing. She's been taken off the poster as well, we've seen. I'm very surprised because I thought, I don't know, I don't want to think, because our perception is Charlotte gets a pretty decent deal in WWE. You know, a lot of fans will say she gets really good treatment. This doesn't seem like that, though. I'm getting the feeling that might have worn off over the time.
I wouldn't say that. I think that it's basically that's the reason why they told her she was pregnant. Because, you know, of course, incompetence in WWE is not a surprise to me. I've seen it for 2 decades now of incompetence, so I'm not too surprised. And we saw the issues that they had with doctors back in CM Punk's situation. So this stuff is not the first time we've heard of mistakes and misdiagnosis from WWE doctors. So doesn't really surprise me. It doesn't say that Charlotte's not being treated well. I actually, you know, take into account that the relationship with Charlotte Flair is probably why Andrade was granted his release. It's not about him, WWE having a falling out with Charlotte. It's more of them wanting to be on Charlotte's good side and giving her significant other what he wanted, because he asked for his release, and it's not very often that people get it. Pac stayed at home for 7 months until he got his release from WWE. FTR was taken off of TV before they got their release. Brody Lee was taken off TV before he got his release. This stuff with Andrade, it came a week after he asked for his release. That has a lot to do with the relationship with Charlotte Flair. As far as where he's going to go next, I've heard people say, you know, AEW. I even had my good brother over on Tru Heel Heat, Top Guy JJ. He says he likes to be a fan and wants fan things, and say he wants Andrade to go to AEW, but it doesn't think about the big picture of people like Miro, who hasn't got the opportunity that his skill and his talent rightfully deserves in AEW. Guys like Jungle Boy that are getting built up. Guys like Hangman Page that are kind of waiting around to get that next big push. Like, Andrade coming in kind of will hurt that, or hurt him in the long run. So I think that we're a year out or a year and a half before it is the right time for Andrade to probably make that move to AEW. Me personally, I would love to see him in New Japan, whether that is going, you know, making the trip over to Japan where he converts the talent such as Naito, who he has a relationship with. He is the person that taught him how to tranquilo, gave him the Los Ingobernables name to come over into New Japan, and he's a former IWGP Intercontinental Champion. I would love to see him against Ibushi, who just retired the IWGP Intercontinental title. So you have that storyline there versus guys like Okada, Ishii, Sanada. There's a bunch of guys for him to kind of mix it up with, and it would have great matches with him. In a G1 would be tremendous against people like Ospreay, Shingo. It'd be great stuff. over on the US side, he can make a great impact as well, because he can mix it up with a John Moxley, with a Kenta, with a Brody King, with a Chris Dickinson. So there's a lot for him to get into on New Japan, but it seems like he is pointing towards either probably making the move over back to New Japan, or maybe to Ring of Honor, where Ring of Honor has a lot of his friends over there. Roosh, who is probably his best friend in the business from their time in CMLL, creating Los Ingonables. You got Dragon Lee, who is Roosh's brother. You got Roosh's father, Bestia La Ring over there. Like, the whole family
is
is
everywhere.
Ring of Honor is focusing on Mexican talent like no one else, with La Faction, Ingonables, as well as Mexa Squad. There's so much talent that is Mexican driven. It seems that Andrade would be at home, and it's a place that he could immediately make an impact and would be considered one of the top stars and a future Ring of Honor champion. So that move right there might be the place where he can make the most immediate impact.
That's fascinating. Well, he's got certainly a lot of options, as you say. So yeah, interesting to see where that goes in the long run. Next up, then we've got to get to this top of the show. We spoke about Logan Paul. I don't want to harp on about it too much, but I couldn't believe when Sami Zayn on SmackDown, and then he pointed towards the Titantron, and it was Logan Paul. He's going to be there. SmackDown reports are that they want Bad Bunny on night 1 and Logan Paul on night 2, or vice versa, because they feel that the demographic, that's what they're hitting towards. They got a lot of young audience on their YouTube and social media and whatnot. I mean, I suppose in that side of things it makes sense, but I mean, I know we've had this question the last month, SP3, so I know what we both thought it wasn't going to happen. There was no real reason. Are you surprised this close to WrestleMania they've just gone, right, Logan Paul, you're coming in, and you'll be a part of WrestleMania as well?
Well, my exact quote was, I hadn't heard anything as of yet. I didn't think it was out of the question, because WWE loves them celebrities. It don't matter what the size celebrity. It could be a C-list celebrity, a D-list celebrity. They took some guy from the real world and made him a 2-time Grand Slam champion. So I'm not surprised by any of this. A YouTube star who has 2 million, 3 million followers on Twitter, and 5 million subscribers. Like, that makes sense for them to grab him up, bring him in the game. Sami Zayn has been kind of teasing this move for the last couple of weeks with his interactions with Logan Paul about his conspiracy theory, his documentary. So him coming in makes a lot of sense. It gives another hook for the Saturday show, and Logan Paul is a demographic and a type of fan that probably wouldn't watch WWE, but is going to watch WWE to see what Logan Paul is involved. What Dave Meltzer of Wrestling Observer reported is that he's going to be involved in the Sami Zayn versus Kevin Owens match at WrestleMania in some way. And if it ends with Logan Paul taking a power bomb or a stunner, I am all for it. And what a WrestleMania moment it would be. This generation's Kane and Pete Rose, in my opinion.
Yeah,
it would be great.
I kind of look at someone like Logan Paul, because after I saw that, I thought, you know what, I got to go and check this guy out. What's he all about? And I watched some of his podcasts with his brother. Now, I know his brother is getting into boxing quite serious. And Logan Paul, he's done the KSI fight, which was like a YouTuber versus YouTuber. That didn't work out for him. Then he was going to obviously be involved with Floyd. That's gone quiet because of everything going on at the moment. I'm sure he would have made a lot of money on that. What do you think WWE would look at this guy and pay him? I mean, do you think he's getting paid quite handsomely for this? Would you imagine? And or some sort of joint promotional business going to happen? And is it likely that he'll be like some sort of special guest ref or something? And because I look at this guy and I look at his personality and I think he reminds me a lot of bringing in someone like Kevin Federline. Do you remember when they did that? And he played up to being a heel, and I quite enjoyed it because I thought you can't really have him come out and try and get cheered. I mean, it's ridiculous. I wonder if Logan Paul, being the personality that he's got, whether he'd quite enjoy that in a little way. I mean, obviously, there's not going to be that many fans of WrestleMania, but I get the feeling that could be the way they go.
I don't understand a lot of fans nowadays. Like, they all talk about how wrestling is not as popular as it once was. And then every time WWE or an AEW get a celebrity, there's always these complaints. When 9 times out of 10, it always works out. Like I think that a lot of fans' thoughts on celebrities goes back to 2009 through 2011 on WWE Raw, where they had the celebrity GM. And it was a whole bunch of crap for like 2 years of celebrities that didn't fit well in wrestling, that just were like round pegs trying to go in square holes, and it didn't work out. Like, people act like Logan Paul and Bad Bunny are like the least popular or least known celebrities that WWE ever got for WrestleMania. They got the 3rd leading actor on NYPD Blue in WrestleMania 11. For God freaking sakes, like, we're complaining about this? Really? I was watching WrestleMania 10. They had Burt Reynolds. Burt Reynolds,
the big what was star. The one they had the fake president at?
Oh my God! Clinton. Oh my God! That was WrestleMania 10 as well. They had the fake president. They had fake Bill Clinton there. They had
little Jimmy.
Oh my God! They had Little Richard. They had Little Richard.
Little Richard.
God damn! Like, Bad Bunny is a bigger star than Little Richard. I don't care what anybody tells me. Little Richard in 1994 is not Bad Bunny in 2021. This man just won a freaking Grammy. Are you freaking kidding me? Like, all right. So I thought I was gonna save this for Wrestling Daily.
Auto. He's gonna use it up. Get ready.
I thought I was gonna wait. I was gonna wait for this week's Tru Heel Heat going live on Saturday. But man, oh man, am I upset about? And I am someone who is like I'm not a Meltzer like what they call it. I think they call it like the Meltzerites or whatever it's called. I'm not one of those. But I have a subscription. Meltzer at a time in high school when wrestling wasn't cool, and I still loved wrestling, but it wasn't cool to watch. Learning the behind the scenes stuff and the backstage stuff from Dave Meltzer, knowing his opinion on certain matches to go look out and go see, was a reason why I got reconnected with professional wrestling. So I will give him that. And he's the OG. He's the pioneer of both wrestling journalists and wrestling fans. So all of that aside, he said the stupidest thing I've ever heard him say on his podcast when he called Bad Bunny an ethnic celebrity. He said that his circle, his bubble, his son's friends, and excuse me, Dave. I'm sorry, Dave. You're not the coolest guy in the world. So I'm not expecting your son to have the coolest friends in the world or him be the coolest person in the world. I mean, 9 times out of 10, he's either going to the gym a lot or he's a dork. So I'm just going to call it like I see it. That's not the best like point of reference to be talking about on a public podcast that people are going to excerpt and drag you on wrestling Twitter about. But he put out there that he heard from his son's friend that Bad Bunny was so unathletic at the Celebrity All-Star game. He's not really that big of a star. I'm not going to talk about how they feel about him, but yeah, he's not that big of a star. He's an ethnic celebrity. Ethnic? He must have heard my promo last week on Powered4SP3. I guess I am the face of what makes an ethnic celebrity, because Bad Bunny is a big-time star, Dave Meltzer, and you wouldn't know a big-time star if it smacks you over the face. This is the same man who told the Elite that they couldn't sell out a building, which caused All In to happen, the greatest wrestling event I've ever been to, which caused AEW to be born. So this man has a track record of being enormously wrong on these BS takes that he tends to have from time to time. But whenever he talks about race or ethnic or celebrity, you just sound like a bigot. You just sound like a racist. Please, Dave, I want to defend you against wrestling fans. Please don't stop sounding so freaking stupid and ignorant on your goddamn podcast. Please.
There you go. I hope you feel better now, SP3. But that sounds like you got it off your chest.
Yeah,
This is what we say here on Powered for SP3. This is like therapy for Mr. SP3. It's just that for SP3, this is the start of his week. So where's he going to be at by Saturday? You'll have to find out on his show, because that's the only thing. But yeah, I mean, I read that as well. And when I read the statement about his son, his son's telling him, I was like, what do you do? Sneak round his bedroom and listen to the conversations going on like it's a big thing.
I'm hanging out with my friends. Well, my son's friends. Like, yes, Dave, we know you don't have any friends.
Oh dear. Well, that said to one side, we got to head on now to WrestleMania's current lineup. There's a few things added, a few stipulations added. I've got a little shot here, in fact, of the different nights that we should have, and here we go. Here's night one at least. So we're looking at good old Bobby. I've got to just quickly make a brief thing about him, SP3, as I'm sure you know what I'm going to mention here. But the fact they broke them up. They broke them up.
Because when I read that,
I 2 weeks to go, for Christ's sake.
Hurt Business banned from ringside. I was like, there's a Hurt Business?
Oh man. Well, that might have been an older one. So you got to take that into account, because now we've disposed of that. Now, I mean, surely if you were going to do that, you'd have done it at one of these pay-per-views. We've had 2 of them. Why not do something there? Break them up. No, maybe do it. This sort of thing normally happens on the Raw after WrestleMania. You don't do it 2 weeks towards WrestleMania, because it's now like all that great work they've done, all the build to getting Bobby Lashley this title, as you rightly said last week and put me straight about protecting Bobby Lashley. It's a big part of it is this group just thrown away. Nobody's business. I guarantee you that people 20 years from now, when they watch the promo for that match at WrestleMania, they don't even mention the Hurt Business. They'll start from 2 weeks ago with Baron Corbin, and you'll just see Bobby Lashley on his own with MVP, but they won't even mention there was a group, a faction behind him. I think it's rotten. I think it's ridiculous. And I was very disappointed, I have to say, that for Shelton Benjamin especially, because I'm a big Benjamin fan. I love the guy. And I'm sure he would have got some sort of place at WrestleMania regardless. I'm sure they would have thrown something up. But very, very disappointed. What was your feelings about it? Or does nothing surprise you anymore, even with 2 weeks to go?
Man, Raw was the Raw was awful. Like, it was atrocious. Like that was one of the worst road to WrestleMania Monday Night Raws I could remember.
I'm scared to watch the go home show now.
I was scared to continue watching after that first segment, because they broke up the Hurt Business. Like, why? I gotta explain this by Romeo Anthony Colon over on the Tru Heel Heat YouTube channel, and he said that basically Vince was convinced that the Hurt Business was getting too much support, that Bobby Lashley was getting too much support, and that WrestleMania is about Drew McIntyre. It's about putting over Drew in front of fans. And Vince doesn't want to play no games with Drew possibly being booed or Bobby being supported more than Drew. So you take Shelton Benjamin out of there. You take Cedric Alexander out of there. And you put in a person that is guaranteed to get people to boo Bobby Lashley or just boo this storyline, it seems like, in general. And that is King Corbin. Baron Corbin being inserted here was just like, it was just inducing. Like, people tried to tell me that McIntyre versus Lashley was red hot and that felt like the WrestleMania main event. It did not. I told you last week. I was like, Bobby Lashley feels red hot. And they tried their best to pour a whole bunch of ice cold water over that red hot guy on Monday Night Raw, taking the Hurt Business away from him and putting Baron Corbin with him, that is putting a whole big bucket of ice cold water. He is taking the ice bucket challenge on going into WrestleMania after this past Monday. That was ridiculous.
New thing. Yeah, I agree. It was rotten. I hated it, and I just. That's not the sort of booking I'm ever used to seeing from WWE this close to the biggest show of the year, regardless of if there's fans or if it's different times. I think it was ridiculous. The other match that I guess with the stipulation, steel cage match now between Shane and Braun. This is dreadful to watch as well. The promo, what made me laugh watching Raw is even with the piping crowd, even that seemed very low key for this. It was like even they weren't cheering for it. So, oh man, this whole thing about Braun Strowman, one of my friends who doesn't watch wrestling a lot, but he watches WrestleMania, he said to me, what's the thing with Braun and Shane? Because he knows Shane always gets a WrestleMania match. And I was like, you don't want to know. It started with Shane just coming back, calling him basically stupid, and now we got a match out of it. I mean, it's the most ridiculous reason for this. There's no real proper story. What do you make to a steel cage match? And by the way, surprisingly, it's only the second time we're going to see a steel cage match at WrestleMania. Can you believe that in all these years, WrestleMania? But hey, what better way to bring it back than having Shane O'Mac bring it back with Braun Strowman? Has that made things any better to be able to view this match? Or is this just going to basically expose more of the professional wrestlers on WWE?
Oh, this Shane versus Braun rivalry has been straight trash. It's been a dumpster fire as far as
what happened. Sorry to cut you in, but what happened to that guy that Shane was with from the Underground? What was his name? I thought, where's he in all this? I mean, why isn't he getting an opportunity in the match?
Dabba-Kato hasn't been seen since he lost to Braun Strowman. I think during that whole Raw Underground storyline. But hey, who knows? But yeah, this whole rivalry has been a dumpster fire. There hasn't been one good segment. They had that awful segment to kick things off where Shane took 28 minutes to cut a 10-worded promo. You had the god-awful segment this week with the report card. You have the god-awful segment with the Nickelodeon slime or the lube.
Oh, God, not that again.
Yeah. It's just been really, really bad. And to add on to things, we also got to deal with
oh, Christ.
Yes.
I forgot about that.
Train sounds when Braun runs around the ring.
Man, I got to be honest, Raw was pretty dreadful. Matt Riddle, or Riddle as he's known as now, that was terrible as well. I've got to say,
awesome. I don't care what anybody says.
On.
The Riddle backstage segment with Asuka, it was the most entertaining thing that I saw on Monday Night Raw this week. My God, I have not cried during a WWE segment in quite some time, and I legit cried tears of laughter watching Matt Riddle just do they like scooters in Japan? What? I don't know what I was gonna say. Never mind. I could not stop laughing. Like, I've literally watched this like 20 times, and I laugh each and every freaking time.
I think you should have done a reaction video. That's what you should have done. You're missing these moments, SP3. You could be a YouTube sensation even more with reactional videos to when this kind of entertainment takes place on Raw. The only other telling part about this was, did they now announce what the main event is going to be? And there was a bit of an uproar because we're not getting Sasha and Bianca, as I predicted a couple of weeks ago, that they've kind of said it's going to be Bobby. Is that correct, or is this still up in the air?
It seems like it's up in the air because Sasha Banks was on commentary on SmackDown and called her and Bianca the main event of WrestleMania, while Todd Phillips on Monday Night Raw said the same of Lashley versus McIntyre. So did, I believe, Lashley and McIntyre.
Nobody knows what's going on.
Yeah, and then we have the whole situation that for years, for at least a decade, dudes that would be opening the show would call themselves the main event of WrestleMania. Since Humberto Del Rio won the Royal Rumble, and he's going into WrestleMania saying he's about to be in the main event of WrestleMania, and then opens the show, we've dealt with multiple people calling themselves the main event of WrestleMania 4 years now. So I don't think people should take too much into account when a Sasha Banks says it on commentary or when Lashley or McIntyre say it on a promo.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, it's 2 nights as well. So when they say they're the main event, are they really the main event? And even last year's main events, I weren't talking about, I did not remember them that well and keenly either, because all I was thinking about was the Boneyard match and the Firefly Funhouse.
That
so
was the main event, though, of night one. The Boneyard.
True. But I just think that I don't know if the main event has the same ring to it. I mean, sometimes it's one of those things because, like, the first ever women's one, as much as I wanted it to happen, by the end of it, I was like, I wish they hadn't now because they didn't have enough time. They would have been better in the middle and given enough time because they ran over and it was a terrible ending. So I'm like, for me, that match with Bianca Belair and Sasha, look, for me, all I want is them to have enough time to tell the story, not to have to rush, not to have to do anything ridiculous, because you can steal the show, in my opinion, anywhere on the card. But I just hope, because it's one of those things with WrestleMania. I mean, it might be different with nights because you've got 2 nights, but sometimes by the time you get to the main event, man, you're knackered. You're like, oh God. And you've got to get yourself up again for that spot. So it's a really difficult thing sometimes when they say we want to be the main event, because I kind of argue maybe you're better off in the middle or at the very beginning. But yeah, who knows? We'll see where that comes. We'll talk about that a little bit more next week as well. Obviously, now new segment for you, Mr. SP3. We're going to run through these very quickly. This is SP3 rates. This is taken from our football show over at Added Time, and I thought, you know what, I could make this a good thing for you over here on Powered for SP3. So check this out, Mr. SP3. We got legend, decent, bang average, lacking, or that word crap. So think about that when I'm going to give you every week 4 talents for you to basically give us that rate. So here we go. You ready for number 1?
Sure.
Ta-da! The Lethal Weapon, Steve Blackman. Where does he fall?
Lacking.
There you go. Next up,
lacking charisma.
the Repo Man. Don't forget to, don't be behind on your payments, people, because this is the guy. This is the one. He's the real deal. Repo Man. Where does he go for you?
Are we talking about the Repo Man, just the Repo Man, or
just the Repo Man, just that character?
Just the Repo Man.
Oh yeah, strong wrestler, very technical.
Lacking.
And next up, female Ivory.
Legend. God damn it.
She's fantastic. And here's one that as should be right in the main news at the moment. I'm very interested on this one. The great Khali, the latest WWE inductee. Where does he fall on his run in WWE? A former world champion, I should add, and had some very, very technical, incredibly lengthy, long matches in WWE, I'm sure.
Crap.
There you go, folks. There you go. You heard it here. The great Khali. Couldn't believe it when I saw he was going to get inducted. I thought that's got to be something just for India, surely. I have no idea. I mean, yes, he's a former world champion, but my goodness. But great to see Kane going in, I have to say. And for anybody that hasn't seen, there's been a lot of photos posted from last night. I believe that's when they recorded the 2020 batch of inductees. Fantastic to see. The UK's been biased, myself here, but the UK's Davey Boy Smith, who myself and SP3 got the opportunity to interview his daughter Georgia Smith, so go and check them out as well. There's some good stuff in that, but very, very pleased it's happened, and you'll be able to see the actual show of it, I believe, on the 6th of April, which will go out on Peacock. Or let's hope it comes out all right on Peacock, because they've been having a lot of problems. And we might get to that. But here's another one. Mr. SP3 NXT to Tuesdays, of course, and the end of the wars, the Wednesday night wars. I mean, was it a war? I don't know. Was it really a war? I called it a little battle, at the end of it. But what does this mean now with them going on Tuesdays? Other than for me and you and everybody else that does media, it's a little bit easier because we can just watch both shows and I have a Batman set up like a cave and watch about 3,000 things at once. But how do you think this is did you think this all will affect much with the ratings, or do you think this is just going to stay the same? Like the ratings will always be AEW ahead as they have been?
Yeah, I think AEW is going to stay ahead because they're staying on Wednesdays. They've established an audience there. And I think they're going to be more consistently over the 850,000 marker for them, instead of like dipping below, which they were at 757,000 viewers last week. So I think that it's going to be great for both shows. The viewership is going to be great for the fans. Like you said, no more, having the whole city looking on as your Bruce Wayne and your Bat Layer and stuff, watching the entire wrestling world. And, live tweeting was difficult as hell because I'm live tweeting AEW and getting spoilers for NXT. So It's going to be nice to have it on a separate day. Like, so many channels are able to cover NXT more as well. You're going to see more coverage for NXT, more attention put on that brand, which has been lacking. And hopefully it lets them go back to the type of storytelling that made everyone fall in love with NXT, because they have very much changed before our eyes, being on USA and booking more because they're trying to counter AEW than booking for them and what their story that they're building up. The fact that we are on the first week of the head-to-head, we had Adam Cole and Matt Riddle in for an NXT championship match, and that match should have been on a takeover, and they just blew it off and no one even remembers it really. Like, that's a shame. And we had Adam Cole and Finn Balor has been on NXT TV three times, and never had a takeover match because they're trying to counter program AEW. It's sickening to say, but yeah, that's a lot of the reason. But of course, the reason why they're really moving is because the NHL is going to be on the USA Network. Will the NHL affect AEW's ratings? I don't know. Will AEW Dark, being like a 3-hour show at this point, affect NXT's ratings? I don't know. We've already seen NXT moving to Tuesdays has caused Impact to move to Thursday, starting next Thursday. So it's all a trickle-down effect, and this all is going to influence and, really dictate how the wrestling world is going to be for the next year. There is a possibility after this season that NXT could move back to Wednesdays because the NHL had just made a deal with ESPN for next season's game. So there is a possibility there, but I think the best thing for the long-term future of NXT and WWE on the USA Network is for NXT to stay on Tuesday, establish an audience there.
You know what the other good thing is as well, really, with a positive spin on it, is for the fans. I mean, we're getting a lot of wrestling now. You can choose. You had to choose on a Wednesday, obviously. If you're going to be one of these fans that goes, I'm watching this and that's it, then fine. But now you get the opportunity at least to have one evening, almost every night by the looks of it at the moment, to kind of just at your leisure sit down and watch the show. It's not going to be a debate of which one anymore. I think it's just good for professional wrestling. I think NXT at the beginning should have started on a Tuesday. They shouldn't have just gone on that reactional business. I've seen them do it before, even in the UK with World of Sport. I know how that's been a thing in the past. So I think that sticking to your own thing has to be the best way forwards. Moving on, had to get this one in there. Peacock, right to censor, mate. They should bring these guys in as a storyline. I was thinking about it the other day, and I thought you could have someone pretending they're from Peacock in the good father back, and Val Venus as Sean Morley, all the rest of it. Have Ivory herself. She was there. Stevie Richards. bring them back, because the whole business about this, about them taking quite a lot of stuff out. Not only is there not much content going on there, but apparently NBC want to take out quite a lot of things that they maybe don't agree with. I don't know where that leaves the Attitude Era and things like that, SP3, but have you heard any more to that? And if that's the case, is that going to be a bit of a problem for WWE in this run that they've signed off on here? I mean, obviously not internationally, but in the US.
I mean, you're not getting what you originally were paying for with the WWE network anymore, and
But it's cheaper, right?
It is cheaper. I have the Peacock network now. My hand was forced that I had to make that
They bought a bell.
Yeah, I finished the new Saved by the Bell, and
we're waiting for a review
next week, full review of the new Saved by the Bell. Don't you worry.
Forget WrestleMania. Yeah.
But about like the Peacock network, yeah, I mean, it's kind of disappointing that you're not going to see, classic stuff from probably the Attitude Era or WCW or ECW for that matter. The stuff that they have taken out, I understand though, like Survivor Series 2005 when Vince said the N-word, or Roddy Piper painting his whole body half black. These are rightful things that, yes, you should take off of the WWE network if it doesn't go with your standards and practices. And WWE made a deal with the Peacock network, so they have to kind of go and oblige by that, because that Peacock paid for their footage, paid for their content, so they can edit and change the things however they want that meets their standards. So
they'll be changing the finishes by the end of it. We'll have different results.
No, it's not gonna be all of that. But basically, they're trying to avoid cancel culture. You would have had a whole bunch of people trying to cancel Roddy Piper, not knowing that he passed away 6 years ago. Like this is the type of things. And of course, Vince McMahon. There's always people trying to cancel Vince McMahon. It's just we can't all get on the same page to cancel Vince McMahon, it seems. But that's besides the point. But yes, this is all in their right. It's all understandable. The stuff that gets me pissed off is the fact that there is nothing on this freaking Peacock network. Like they have 14 seasons of Monday Night Raw, which means they have 14 different years, which is from 2008 till now. You want me to relive all this crap from the past decade and a half of WWE? Like, I can't get my Attitude Era. There's no WCW Nitro. They only have WCW Saturday Night, like 12 episodes from 1993. They've totally killed our True Rewind series on Tru Heel Heat. I have to wait until all the content is back on the Peacock network. They ruined Conrad Thompson in 83 weeks.
Yeah,
They're watching of Jim Crockett era. They've ruined Brian Alvarez and Wrestling Observer. They were watching the invasion angle of Monday Night Raw. Like, they've ruined so much content providers, like what they were doing, and this is not what we paid for. Like, the WWE network was supposed to be something for old fans, bring them back in, and now they're losing.
Is ECW on there?
No, there's nothing from ECW on there.
See, that's what I mean. You wonder, you say 2008, that sounds like very deep into the PG era, and you wonder, is that the standard that they'd set, that time ago? Is that where they're going to leave off of? I mean, it might be that we start to see WWE selling to third parties some of that old stuff, because where else are you going to put it if they're not? I kind of thought to myself, maybe they'll do a big disclaimer before the show comes on, like something to pre-warn you what's in it, blah, blah, blah. This was taken from then. But obviously NBC, mate, they're not fooling around. They've bought it. They want to present it like this. It's still a great deal in terms of pay-per-views, that you get that within your price. That's the big selling point at the end of the day. But a little bit disappointing for you and I, and for anybody that's a sort of an old school fan that wants to go and especially go back to those very early days. That's just it's kind of horrendous in many ways, because it's like deleting the history. And yet WWE had done so well of keeping all that library together. So it'll be fascinating to see where that goes in the future. What about this then, Mr. SP3? I know you got big things for this. I have I believe the picture. Oh, he looks disappointed. He looks disappointed. Do you know what? From where I'm looking at this on my screen, it's a little box. Do you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of the Evolution logo when it used to come on the Titantron. That's what I'm looking at as I'm looking at this belt right here. It looks like the outside of it is Evolution, and I should be seeing their logo across. But instead, I've got a title belt for the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship, the one that you warned us about a couple of weeks ago, SP3. And I take it from your reaction, you are not a fan. Tell us more. Are you a belt fan in general? Do you like the, what a belt looks like? And because obviously the WWE ones are terrible. Their title ones just look so, I can't even tell the difference between, like if someone put them out on a table, I wouldn't be able to tell you what one's what. But I like the old style where they all had like an identity, and I like an old wrestling belt. And New Japan have always had good looking titles. I remember the one Brock held and Kurt Angle when they went out there, and all those past champions and Okada. What's this one then, SB3? Why has this not gone down with you? I mean, could it grow on you? Is it like one of those things you go out and buy a new pair of shoes, you don't quite like them at first, and then after a while you're like, yeah, I own these now.
Possibly. Okay.
It might look better when it's on the shoulder of somebody or around the waist of somebody.
No, I saw it on Ibushi and it looked small. It looked really, really small. Yeah, I think that if this was from like a WWE, I would be okay with it. I think if it was from an even an AEW, their women's championship, I wasn't too enthused with. So yeah, if it came from them, I'd probably be like, this is a nice belt. But the fact that they got rid of the most beautiful title in professional wrestling, the IWGP Heavyweight Championship, and they got rid of the second most beautiful title in professional wrestling, the IWGP Intercontinental Championship. To give us that, put it up again, please. Put it up again. That. Seriously?
Yeah. I tell you what.
They made an IWGP version of Cody's tattoo. They literally designed this off of freaking Jeff Hardy's heel run in TNA, his heel championship. This looks like the Divas Championship and the IWGP Heavyweight Championship.
Yeah, I was going to say that.
Baby.
Maybe they'll have pink leather on it. But yeah, I mean, I like it and I don't like it at the same time. I mean, what I don't like about titles, modern day ones, is they have to have their logo right dead center. And I used to like the old WCW one because it wasn't like looking at who we are. It was more about the championship. So I like it that it's blended in more, that it's not like, because I like AEW's title because it's big, but then I dislike the fact that it's got the big AEW logo across it, which I think is just too branding for me. It's too commercial. But I don't know. It might grow on me. I don't know. It might grow on me, but it's not. I'll give you. It's not a patch on the other two. So they've downgraded, if anything, which is a bit of a shame.
Don't ever downgrade after all the titles that we have to live through.
Surprised.
WWE has 14 trillion titles.
Yeah,
and only 3 of them look good, and they're all on the NXT UK brand that nobody watches. So it's just like, what the hell? And then AEW, their world championship, I think, is in the running for one of the best. I think it's right behind the NXT UK championship for the best titles in professional wrestling right now. But it's just like, come on, New Japan. This is not going to make people happy with Ibushi. You literally had to make a guy commit domestic violence as a storyline in professional wrestling, so he would be the heel against Ibushi because people don't like the fact he got rid of the 2 pretty belts. And now you bring in this ugly monstrosity. How do you think people are going to be cheering for Ospreay? They're gonna be like, yay, you beat up your girlfriend, but yay, you're gonna beat the guy that got rid of the pretty titles. It's gonna be ridiculous. Oh, I'm done.
There you go, SP3. There you go. What more can you say on that, really, for a title? Ring of Honor 19th anniversary with the return of Homicide. I mean, Ring of Honor, look, I have always said this. They are the most consistent promotion from that independent level out there, in my opinion. They hold, or they have held, in the big scheme of, you look in the entire existence, their belt, their champion, in very high regard. If you go back and look at some of the previous champions in history, there are some of the best names in there, from independents to guys that went on to WWE, etc., etc. So I've always liked Ring of Honor, and they've never tried to be anything more than what they are. And they're always a good show to go and watch live. They always kind of give you, like, you know, pretty much your money's worth whenever you go and see. So it's amazing to think the 19th anniversary is here. But tell us all about that then, Mr. SP3.
Well, you know, the fact that Ring of Honor has now outlived WCW and ECW combined.
Crazy. Yeah.
It's insane. And it just talks about their determination and their ability to overcome situations where 2 years ago they seemed like they were dead in the water. And this comes after nearly over a decade of Ring of Honor probably being my favorite promotion in professional wrestling. I can go back to December of 2006. My first independent show that I ever went to was Ring of Honor, and it was ROH Final Battle 2006, where Homicide defeated Bryan Danielson, who you might know as Daniel Bryan, for the Ring of Honor World Championship. Hell of a moment, one of the best moments I've seen live in person. And, you know, to watch this show, a lot of what ROH is doing right now are really good stuff. I wish that they did get more attention than they have had in the past. We had 2 new champions on the show. Tracy Williams of the Foundation defeated Kenny King, who was replacing Dragon Lee of LFI for the TV championship. Dragon Lee had an injury that took him out of action, so Kenny King was defending the title for his stablemate, and he lost to Tracy Williams, who became the new television champion. Tracy Williams also teamed up with his Foundation teammate Rent Titus to defeat Bestia La Ring and Kenny King for the ROH World Tag Team titles, which Kenny King and Dragon Lee formerly have had the titles before, but with Dragon Lee out, Bestia replaced him, who is the father of Dragon Lee and Roosh, and they lost to Rent Titus, who submitted Bestia to win the tag team gold. So the Foundation getting a lot of momentum. And then in the main event, it was Roosh who defeated Jay Lethal in a really strong main event of the evening. Roosh totally destroyed Lethal with the corner dropkick that you just have to see. It was great stuff. And then after the match, LFI jumped Jay Lethal. Foundation came out, so the 2 main factions in ROH were battling, and then Brody King came down and basically told Roosh that he's not going to dominate ROH anymore, that he has his crew. Now he's going to have a crew. He brought out Tony Deppen, who is more of like a rookie in Ring of Honor, but a very young rising star on the independent. Then he said he had 2 more surprises. Out came Chris Dickinson, who has been one of the mainstays of the independent wrestling world for the last couple of years. He's been making a big impact over on New Japan Strong, the New Japan US side, over on NJPW World. And of course, the returning Homicide, which was very appropriate, this being the 19th anniversary, him being one of the forefathers of Ring of Honor, him coming in and joining Brody King, Chris Dickinson, and Tony Deppen to create Violence Unlimited. So it seems like we have this 3-way faction warfare building in Ring of Honor. So there was new champions, a new kind of big storyline, big feud coming out of the show. So it feels like ROH has some momentum. So hopefully they can keep it going as we go into, you know, WrestleMania season, and then past that time, Ring of Honor keeps having good shows like this one, and hopefully they can keep getting more momentum. Also on the show, Jay Lethal and EC3 had a really strong matchup. The whole feud was about the 2 men shaking hands The fact that you can have a great feud about shaking hands in 2021 says all you need to know. Go out of your way to see their promos leading up to the match and watch that match. ROH 19th anniversary, definitely worth going out of your way to see. Over on Tru Heel Heat, Stat King and Ness broke it down, and that's up on the Tru Heel Heat YouTube channel right now.
Amazing. I kind of want to go and see that now. You've sold it to me. Massive fan of Ring of Honor. Loved it every time they come over as well in the past. Always do a fantastic tour in this country. And they always use independent guys as well. They always pick them up to come in just for their tour and give them a little bit of exposure. So massive fan of that. SP3, we're heading towards the end of the show, but we are going to run through a bit of a true or false here. We've missed this the last couple of weeks, so we're gonna finally get through to some of these. Let's see how good he is. I'm pretty sure he's still, trembling over the whole Nicholas affair from a couple of weeks back, which of course is still giving him nightmares today. Here we go. Triple H and Kevin Nash are the only two men to defeat both Goldberg and Gillberg with a WWE or WCW world title on the line. He's thinking about this one, people. You can see.
False.
He's gone false. It is false. Well done. He's off to a winning start. Well done. I could tell you was thinking about that for a little while.
I wasn't. I really wasn't. I was like,
well,
wait, Gillberg never even faced Kevin Nash.
Yeah. Okay, next up. Stephanie McMahon was the first ever woman to pin The Rock. True or false?
I don't know if she ever pinned The Rock, so this is a good one. This is a good.
I'm glad.
This is a good stumper. I mean, but that whole McMahon Helmsley era, like they used to always go in on The Rock, so I wouldn't be surprised. I'm probably wrong, but I'm gonna go with true.
It's going true. It is true. Well done. You was right to do it. Stephanie McMahon did. So well done, Mr. SP3. You see, he's redeeming himself already. MVP did voice work for the video game Saints Row. Number 4 there. True or false?
I never played that game.
Look, I got to do things here, SP3. I've got to think out of the box because, you're the Oracle. So I'm like, I got to do things to make sure,
Never even played that game. So
this is slightly unfair to SP3.
I'm going to say
true.
true.
Yes.
I'm going to say true.
And I'm afraid it was false.
Never played
but there was a wrestler that did, and it was Rob Van Dam. It was Rob Van Dam that did it. Of all people, Rob Van Dam. But that was a difficult one because he didn't know. So I'll give you a half a one there for that one. Okay. Every WCW world champion has made at least one appearance on WWE TV. True or false? It's a difficult one.
Wow. Yeah, this is a very difficult one. Wow. Every like you couldn't even say like at least like the year 2000 where there was like 30 of them. Like you literally had to say every. Sheesh. Oh man. I'm like thinking about all the WCW world champions from Vader to Sting to Rick Rude,
David Arquette.
David Arquette hasn't made one, so I don't think so. At least, well, unless you count him being in the crowd, because I don't. No,
this is WWE TV.
That does not count though. He's in the crowd like that. That's like I made an appearance on WWE TV. Then every host of Tru Heel Heat has made an appearance on WWE TV. If we're counting that shit. So I'm going to say false.
Well, according to this, it's true. But I mean, next time you go there, you got to get him to say SP3 from Tru Heel Heat and then sit back down again, like wave, and then you sit back down. That's what they're classing it as. That's what they're
That's
classing as.
BS. He's never made a formal. He's never been a celebrity guest host. He's never been like what? LeBron James. So you telling me LeBron James counts as an appearance on WWE TV when he had a Motorola cell phone taking pictures in the front row?
All right, I'll take that one back. I'll take that one back because the facts ain't right on my internet machine. Blame Google for this. All right, let's go with the last one. Terry Funk started wrestling the year The Undertaker was born. True or false? It's a tough one.
Like, what is going on? What is going on with this whole like?
But that's what I'm saying. With you, there's got to be some sort of rule now because you haven't got the network that goes back, have you? So I'm gonna have to start doing these from 2008.
Yeah, like
got everything.
Like, I don't have everything like anymore. I can't go back and be like, oh yeah, this is what. No, Terry Funk started wrestling the year The Undertaker was born. So The Undertaker was born. But in 1 BC, and he's been wrestling for about 5,000 years. So Terry Funk's been wrestling for 5,100 years. So I'm gonna say false. Of course it is. Of course it is. Of course it is. This is like the worst true and false I've done so far on the show.
Well, I'm afraid, we've come to an end. But I mean, I'll give you the fact there was some difficult. Well, I had to go difficult because you were getting too good. So I couldn't keep on that line. Next week, a special WrestleMania true or false. So I've given you a little bit of heads up there. Get your trivia involved because I'll find some ridiculous ones.
I think they have all the WrestleManias on the Peacock network.
There you go. You can brush up on them. It'll only take you 100 hours or whatever to get through it a couple of times. I'm sure your family will be very happy with that dominating the TV, of course. And also SP3 finally made an appearance a couple of weeks ago now, I believe, on Quizomania. So a lot of people on here are asking when are they getting him on. He's been on. So if you missed it, go and check that out. He's been involved, brushing up on his stuff there. And this is towards the end of our show. It gives me enough time just to let everybody know what's going to happen from next week. Our special WrestleMania week on Powered 4. It's going to kick off, I can tell you this now, with Powered for SP3. Next week at 4 p.m. it will all start, followed by the G&G pre-shows of NXT TakeOver Night 1 and 2. We got a special Big Fight Weekly from Stu Palmer. He's doing an MMA wrestling crossover. And also, I believe, and yes, we had Justin Clapper coming on to that one as well, giving us his thoughts on that one. So very good there. And also, you're going to be able to see Mr. SP3 himself on the Tru Heel Heat side of things as well. What have you got planned over there for WrestleMania? And obviously, let us know. I'm guessing, like us, you're going to be here, there, and everywhere that week.
We're going to have a full week of content, especially live stream content, starting this Saturday. Actually, it's a full week. This Saturday, we're going live with Tru Heel Heat 119 with Miss Chrissy Love, Top Guy JJ, and myself. Sunday, going to drinks in early on a Saturday. Sunday evening, we're going to go live with New Japan Pro Wrestling Sakura Genesis Roundtable Review. So that'll be myself, Jay News, Ness of Blunt Impact is going to be on that one, and we might have a special guest or two on there. Next Thursday, we're going to have our live Tru Heel Heat 120 previewing WrestleMania. Next Friday, we'll have a live preview for WrestleMania both nights. We're going to wait till after the go-home edition of SmackDown because we don't depend on WWE to not name.
Probably change the champion by then.
They're going to change matches, so we're going to do it an hour after SmackDown, after I do the post show over on Sports Keto Wrestling. We're going to go live on the Tru Heel Heat YouTube channel, and then Sunday, we'll have our full 2-night WrestleMania review of both night 1 and night 2, and that's going to be 30 minutes following April 11th, the Sunday edition of WrestleMania.
Nice. So it's going to be very reactional. I like those ones because you're kind of, the adrenaline is still there. You're either very disappointed or you're very happy. But it's a good time to get that from anybody. Here's a couple of, I did have these banners, but I forgot to put them up. But this is our Big Fight Weekly crossover. This is going to come out next Friday. And then I've got, I don't know if you use this term I don't know if you use the term hair of the dog for after a hangover. Is that something you'd use in America, or is that not something you say?
Not something we hear too often.
Hair of the dog in the UK basically is you have a beer when you've got a hangover, and it's supposed to cure it. So I've kind of put it in a little bit. So Hair of the Mad Dog is going to be on Sunday. That's going to be our night one review of WrestleMania. That'll go out live at I believe 3 p.m. And Games and Graps will be doing pre-shows of all the nights, of both nights of WrestleMania, both nights of NXT takeovers as well. And of course, Powered for Saturday. This is the big one. Between 2 p.m. and 8 p.m., you are going to be able to see 3 matches on the hour. So basically, we're going to be dropping matches from Powered 4 TV on Facebook and YouTube, absolutely free. We encourage you to come in, have a chat with everybody, tell us your thoughts about WrestleMania. We're going to basically have some great matches from all over the platform, and that's going to be between 2 p.m. and 8 p.m. It's going to be a busy time, as always, on WrestleMania week. And it's not a weekend anymore, it's a bloody week. I'm sure it'll get longer. I'm sure we'll be at the stage soon where it's a month or something, and none of us will be able to have the will to live. But there you go. Anything coming up this week, SP3, for you? Where can we find you? You're going to be, I'm sure you're doing Sports Keeda Wrestling Daily is coming up.
Yes, you could catch me at 3 p.m. Eastern Time, 8 p.m. BST, over on Wrestling Daily, myself and Alex McCarthy. We got a lot of wrestling news to discuss. Of course, I'm going to discuss more that vile accusation by Dave Meltzer that Bad Bunny
is going to say Logan Paul.
So Dave Meltzer is gonna call me an ethnic wrestling journalist, an ethnic wrestling person, a YouTuber. Like, God damn it, Dave Meltzer, you say stupid crap. I hate it. And shouts out to 5th Generation Carney, he's great. Later on today, Wrestling Daily, 8 p.m. BST, 3 p.m. Eastern Time. I'm gonna go. We're gonna have a live edition of Tru Heel Heat on Saturday, like I said before, and then Friday we also got Smack Talk with me and Rick Ucchino immediately following SmackDown. And shout out to Rambo as well.
Yeah, Rambo. I'll just quickly answer this. He did ask this earlier on. Are you both surprised Brock Lesnar and Cena are not on the Mania card? I'm surprised John Cena isn't involved somewhere because he normally wants to be there. Do you think he'll turn up suddenly, or do you think they'll just avoid John Cena this year?
The best way to reintroduce John Cena would be in the Firefly Funhouse that he's been stuck in for the last year.
Maybe he'll be in Randy Orton's one.
That's what I'm saying.
Be like, I'm here as well.
Yeah. Like Randy comes out and Bray says, I'm going to give the people what they always want. The match that has sold out building after building. John Cena versus Randy Orton for the 5,000th time.
He hasn't pointed to the WrestleMania sign, so he can't. That has to be done. Thank you very much, Mr. SP3. We've run over time here. I've kept him for 15 minutes, but he's done a fantastic job. Very, very insightful as always. And we'll be back next week. Come back next week for the kickoff of WrestleMania's week on Powered 4. Until then, SP3, I'll see you Wednesday, and you can catch SP3 later today on the Wrestling Daily. Go and check that out. Thank you as always. We'll see you next week.
Please check out Wrestling Travel. They're a great sponsor for us. They help us with so many different events, so many different traveling inquiries. They are the greatest. They've been seen at Starrcade, Warrior Wrestling, you name it. Wrestling Travel is one of the premier traveling organizations for pro athletes such as ourselves.